Hey, and welcome to Say Anything with Keena B. I am Keena B. Thank you so much for joining me. We are going to be on break for a while, but if you enjoyed Keena B, Say Anything for this season, last season, then please go back and hear all of the past episodes. We just started. We just have 1 or 2 seasons. This is our 2nd season. So next time you hear us, we'll be in our 3rd season. There are over 19 different episodes. 19 full episodes from 15 minutes to an hour of listening that you can consume for each episode, and I hope that there is something out there for you that you would like to hear. In the meantime, after you listen, comment. While you're listening, comment. Let me know what you would like to talk about, hear about going forward. For the rest of this episode, which will be the last of season 2 before we go on break until the summer, you will just be hearing what I would like to call my thought dump. Excuse me, you know how they have the photo dumps online on Instagram and TikTok and things like that. People will just dump their photos that they've had holding in their camera. I'm going to dump my thoughts, things that I have been recording but never included in past episodes. So the time range may vary. It might be something regarding the news at the time that I did not actually put, or it might be something that I thought was funny. And maybe you have input on my thought dump. So this will be the last one for a while. For a while until the summer when we'll start season 3. So that will be about June. Happy days coming up ahead. My son is graduating this year, so I'm going to be focused on that. We have a business that I am focused on, my husband and I, Wimbia's Market, which is an art gallery and a gift market located in Quincy, Florida. So for the next couple of months, I'm going to be focused on that as we have our 1st year anniversary of business coming up in April. I appreciate everyone who has listened thus far, and I hope you continue listening. Go back, stream on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and listen to all of the guests. We've had Denzel Goldwire, who is an artist in Gadsden County. We have had Dexter Keenan, who is a local DJ and musician here in Gadsden County, Florida. We talked to Lily Forbes, who is a vocalist out of Tallahassee, Florida. Veterans and art from the area talking about their time in the military. We've spoken with artist Gloria Nicholson, also in that same interview with the veterans. We have, and Gloria Nicholson also has art in Wimbia's Market, so stop by and see her art, purchase her art. We have spoken with Saref Nay, who is a comedian out of South Florida and has his own website that you all can go and visit. Just a lot of different people we've talked to, authors in the first 2 seasons. So it's really nice to have been able to have conversations with individuals in and out of this area for the 1st season and the 2nd season. And I've been really blessed to be able to do this thus far and hope to continue to do so. Spread the word, listen, stream, just have me on in the background while you're cleaning or while you're cooking, something to listen to. And tell your friends, share with your friends about the show. Say Anything with Keena B. I hope you enjoy my thought dump. I've always liked that word, brouhaha. Brouhaha. It's spelled how it sounds. And I always liked it because, it means the opposite of how it sounds, right? Brouhaha. It sounds like you're laughing, right? But it actually means like catastrophe or fright. a clusterfuck, but yet you're laughing at it. So it's the original dark humor. In other news, it appears that Casey Anthony is now working in the legal field. She didn't specifically say what her profession was. She just said the legal field, and that she would be offering advice. And she has a social media page, and has launched her social media page. And so Casey Anthony, for those who don't know, was accused of ending the life of her child, and was also acquitted of said charges. However, public opinion for a very long time has been that she was guilty. And I'm just talking about public opinion. So her launch of her social media site with the intent to give advice is apparently meeting a whole lot of mixed reviews. I was kind of just shocked to see it. Although I don't know why. I don't know why anybody would really be that shocked to see it. If a person isn't in jail, they still have to make a living some kind of way. But I guess, and in the age of social media, many people go to social media to attempt to make money. It's very interesting to see the reaction in the comments to her launch. It's a oof moment, right? The crowd is not with her. The people are not with her. I'm sure, just like with anything, though, there are people who they like those individuals who have been accused and convicted, and they like those individuals who have been accused, whether or not they were convicted or not. So she's gonna, whether you like it or not, she's gonna have her following. Okay, she's gonna get those individuals who actually want to hear from her. So I don't know what this means about society, though. I don't know how to feel about that. I really don't. I would have to go back and look at that trial in order to know how to feel about it. I remember when it took place. I remember watching the news about it. And I think they even played several parts of the trial itself. Court TV and on different channels. I just know everybody thought that she was lying. My personal opinion, I don't have one at this point, because well, you know what? I'll speak from the point of a person who's been to law school. You were accused of a crime. You go to court and you present your evidence, or the prosecution presents their evidence, and then the defense, are offered the opportunity to defend against the evidence, but you don't have to, because it's not up to you to defend, it's up to the prosecution to prove. Based on the information that was provided, the prosecution did not meet the standard for conviction, and the jury that was present decided in the defendant's favor, which means she was acquitted. And who am I to counter what a jury, multiple people, have come together and decided? Who am I to say? They actually sat there and listened to all the evidence that the prosecution They gave the evidence, and the defense defended, and then they made a decision. So I wasn't in that courtroom. I didn't hear all the evidence. I can't even remember the stuff that was said in the news. So I think that a lot of the problem with this is that it was tried in the news and the public with a particular slant that the people did not get to hear all the evidence that was in the courtroom. So whatever the case may be, the jury found that there was reasonable doubt. And the fact of the matter is, you can't go. The hope is that anybody who's on a jury does not go by feeling, that they go by the evidence presented and not by their emotion, because emotions can be biased. And there was a life that was lost, and people can bring their emotion to that and say somebody has to pay. But it doesn't mean that the somebody necessarily is the guilty party. Was there a lot of people probably guilty for that child's death? Guilty as an actual fact that it was done, and guilty for negligence, and guilty for apathy, and guilty for, so many different things probably could have gone differently to save that life. What is the point? The point is, get off social media, y'all. I'm sorry. Just get off social media, because there's too much going on right now. And you need to take a break to get off social media, and because you're going to come across things that you don't want to hear about. You're going to come across news that you could have gone your whole life and never have seen or read or heard. You're going to come across people that you wish you had never met. And if you would just limit the time on your social media, you probably are less likely to come across those things. So this is your reminder to limit your time on the social media pages, because otherwise you're going to run into a notification of someone doing something that you wish you had not seen. Anyway, So there's a movie out now called The Woman in the Yard, and I laughed. It's supposed to be a horror film, but immediately I laughed because I said, "Oh, they done ran out of names." Like, they have ran out of clever ways to name a movie, and so they're now like, you know what? You can imagine it. A bunch of people at a meeting. Here's the table. It's circle of people. You have your writers and the producers and marketers and advertisers together. I don't know how it works. I'm surmising. I'm just making this up. I imagine that it would be the person who created the script writer, and then whoever additional writers out there who helped, and then whoever the producer is, because that's where the money is, and then the director and everything. And you know what let's call it what is she doing? Well, she's literally sitting in the yard. Let's call it The Woman in the Yard. They're just like, let's just call it what it is. A woman in the yard. For that matter, they should have called Jumanji a bunch of animals running outside. Like, or what's that Rocky should have been men boxing. Just like, they just ran out of names. 1, 2, 3, 4. continues to go down this rabbit hole every week. It seems like there's something, the last couple of weeks anyway, something new that he's doing to just cause controversy. And truly, I think he just is trying to sell his merchandise. But at the same time, it's like just ignoring him is the best thing to do. Like I said in a previous podcast, I admire what his mom did when it came to confidence building. But unfortunately, she passed. And I think that she was like his best friend. And when you lose someone that close to you, in such an unexpected way, I just personal opinion, I don't think he ever recovered from it. And everything after that point was very much indicative of the fact that the person that he trusted the most, shared information with the most, who was able to talk him to talk to him on the level that he's expecting, is no longer there. And he has spiraled. And then you compound that with the fact that he might have some undiagnosed or misdiagnosed, or maybe rightfully diagnosed mental illnesses. But mental illness does not mean that you get to scapegoat your way through life as to bad behavior. Mental illnesses do not explain away bad behavior. And I think he and his PR team try to constantly fall back on that. It's like, oh, he has a mental illness, so forgive him. It's not that simple. He's not the only person around that has mental health diagnoses. And we do not excuse away people's behavior just based on their mental health. Now, if you can't get away with it, and I can't get away with it, he can't get away with it. But nonetheless, let's just don't, what do they say? Don't feed you go to the aquarium or you go to the zoo, they'll say, don't feed the animals. So stop giving him what it is that he's seeking, which is attention. If you didn't write up the stories, he would stop the behavior. You reinforce the behavior every time you write up a story about him. Okay, so more news. The BBC is reporting that Chevron, the oil giant, is going to reduce their employment. They're going to slash their workforce. Chevron, the oil giant, is going to cut its workforce by 20% by the end of 2026. Employs more than 45,000 people, and more than half of that amount is in the United States. So we shall see how that impacts the United States workforce. They also indicated, this is still the BBC, that the U.S. inflation is expected to increase further. Oh, man. It's funny when you start scrolling news, who's reporting what, and what's front page news to them versus front page news to us. So I like to go on to the international news sites just to see what they're reporting and compare it to the U.S. news sites. And it's usually, interestingly, there's always a variation. And even more importantly, their take on how the news is reported is different. So I like to see the consistencies too. I like to see what's being consistent. And then I like to figure out who owns these news stations, which actually takes a lot of energy. Like, because most news stations and sites are owned by conglomerates. They're not separate spaces. Like your county newspaper and your city newspaper and maybe your regional news and then national news can all be owned by the same person, so that the news that you're getting is very controlled. They literally could be owned by the same person, and all they do is vary how they report it. They change it up a little bit to make it bite size, right? Depending on where it's being reported, but it's still managed. Like it's it's public relations. They're managing the news itself and how it's received. It is a good habit to go outside of your local news source, though, just to make sure that you are not in a massive not think tank. What's the word? You want to make sure that you're getting different opinions of what is happening, and you don't want to be stuck on Fox News and you don't want to be stuck on CNN, and you don't want to be stuck on NPR, and you don't want to be stuck on whatever your news source is. That can't be your only news source. Like, you have to bounce around to see which messages are consistent. And when I say consistent, that doesn't necessarily mean correct. I like to compare and contrast which are varied and which are consistent. And maybe if it's consistent, it might hold more truth. But more than likely, if it's consistent, it just means that they are all owned by the same company. So of course it's going to be consistent. Or maybe they're pulling from the same source. Like a lot of them will pull from the AP, the Associated Press. So of course it's consistent because they're all pulling from the same source. So just be aware. This is something that you would have studied when you took somewhere in high school or middle school, when they were teaching you in your English classes how to cite your references and how to know which references are legitimate and which references are not. They also hopefully taught you how to recognize or how to critically think about the information that you're being fed, and how to question it, no matter who the source is, no matter if it's a source that you like to read and you go to them all the time and you like them so much, the reporter's name, the journalist's names, the column. You respect it. You think that person is a neutral person, or maybe you just like them for whatever reason. And but those classes that you might have started taking in middle school, maybe even elementary school, you had drops of that, as early as possible, to critically think about the information that you're receiving, so that you're not just taking it at face level and just accepting it as true without doing more research on the topic. Like, I'm just giving you headlines. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing and reading, but in generalities, right? You still have to go out and look up the information yourself, and if you're interested, and read the full articles or listen to the news broadcast, whatever the case may be. And then decide for yourself whether that's information that you actually want to continue to hear about, or, feel like you could trust it, or feel like you need to do even more research to see what's behind that. What is behind this information that you are given to me? I have my own opinions about a lot of different things, but my opinions are not in a vacuum. Like, it's not just one thing. It can be a lot of things. Like, I can like a person's music and not like their behavior. I can like a person's behavior and hate their music. I can agree with a person once, right? Because a broken clock can be correct at least twice a day, as long as it's not in daylight savings time. So all I'm saying is people, I am not a monolith. Like, I can disagree with people and still appreciate things about them, and I can agree with people and not like things about them at the same time. So the same thing is true for news. I can like a part of a news broadcast and appreciate it and think that, okay, that's good information. I can trust that to a degree. And the same reporter can report something else, and I'll be like, that sounds like a lie, or that doesn't sound right, or, I need to do more research on that particular issue. That's how you should, in my opinion, that's how you should look at news. It's informational, but it doesn't mean it's true. Even the things that you think are true, you should look up and do more information about, and look up and read more information about it from a lot of different sources, to see if it's something that you really want to believe. But even still, I guess I'm skeptic. I guess it's just understanding that there are things that you need to be skeptical about. And even if like I said earlier, even if it's consistent, if the messaging is consistent, I'm still going to be skeptical about it, because I saw a quote the other day that is absolutely 100% correct. I agree with this quote. Just because the majority says it's okay does not make it right. And the same thing applies to the news. Just because the message is consistent does not mean that it's the truth. It's just a matter of messaging. So be critical thinkers, people. Thank you so much for joining me on this final episode of season 2 of Say Anything with Keena B. I hope you enjoyed all of the thoughts that I had, and that you will join me on the next season 3, which I plan on starting in the summertime. So look out for that. Go back and stream all the other episodes. Share, like, subscribe. Please comment, engage with me. I would appreciate the feedback. And as I try to always say, say that thing that you need to say. Don't wait until tomorrow, okay? Have the most amazing rest of your day.